Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Phi and this is Money Philosophy. Thank you for coming back for another day of Tesla analysis. Today I'd like to congratulate the Tesla team as well as all of the Tesla shareholders for a fantastic quarter. Q1 2022 delivery result was almost 310,000 vehicles with production of over 305,000 vehicles. So this is fantastic news, and needless to say, we are looking really good heading into the remaining of 2022 with Giga Berlin and Giga Austin ramping up. If you're new to my channel, please consider subscribing. I am a growth stock investor and a trader, and I'd love to share with you my investing and trading journeys. Also, if you have not, check out my Patreon page below, link down below, and I'd love to see you there where I analyze Tesla stock price on a regular basis, and I share with my patrons whether or not I enter a trade in Tesla, whether short-term or long-term. Without further ado, let's get right into it. So for Q1 of 2022, Tesla delivered 310,000 vehicles and produced just over 305,000 vehicles. Compare this to 2021 Q4, Tesla delivered 308,600 vehicles and produced also over 305,000 vehicles, almost 306,000 vehicles. The significance of the numbers for Q1 of 2022 is that we had 4 days of shutdown at Giga Shanghai due to COVID over there, and Tesla still managed to produce almost just as much as Q4 of 2021. Usually Q4 is when Tesla delivered the most for the year and produced the most. But as we can see this time around Q1, Tesla continues to beat its highest quarter and makes another record. This means that Tesla can still improve efficiency and capacity within the current plants within Shanghai and Fremont to be able to produce identical level of vehicles despite 4 days of shutdown. So this is, needless to say, outstanding. This is only the beginning of 2022. We still have a lot to look forward to for Giga Austin and Giga Berlin. So I think that Q2 will surprise a lot of people, but Q3 and specifically Q4, we will see a hyperbolic increase in production and delivery for both Giga Berlin and Giga Austin, particularly Giga Austin. With that in mind, let's take a look at technical analysis here. The volume for Friday was only 70%. It wasn't great. There was also 2/3 of buy volume and 1/3 of sell volume. Tesla made a gap up on Monday and has consistently stayed in that range between $1,090 and about $1,070, and it hasn't been making another leg up as expected just yet. I had indicated that my first price target of this bull flag would be $11.55, and the second price target of the bull flag is $12.87. And the bull flag was created here, and last Monday Tesla has started to spike up, but it has not been continuing that. The last 5 days it has been in a waiting pattern, waiting for delivery news, I suppose. Let's take a look at the weekly chart. So on the weekly, it is a gap up on the weekly as well. However, you can see that the rejection off of around 1105, and it has been retracing, ending the week at 1084. So this weekly candle by itself is not great news. I do think that this is a failed rocket launch on top of a 2 very bullish week. This could be setting up for Tesla to move down, fill the gap, and then continue to spike further. So for the immediate time, I think that we might be looking at a little bit of a correction. But let's take a look at the hourly chart as well, and then we're going to read this failed rocket launch daily bull flag in conjunction with the hourly chart and in conjunction with the delivery news that just came out today. So here's the hourly chart. This represents a big pre-market spike on Monday earlier this week, and then it has been consolidating right around the same range of 1105 and 1070 as indicated. The highest point pre-market the day after Tesla broke out, which was a Tuesday before market open, open was 11.24. During the trading day, Tesla has never gotten back there, but I do think that it could get back there shortly here. Going back to the week before, Tesla also had 2 days of a breakout and then consolidate for 2 days leading into the end of the week before last week, and then broke out again. So technical analysis alone, disregarding the delivery news for a moment, this looked like Tesla is primed for another breakout, which means that I wouldn't be surprised if Tesla breakout Monday morning, hit the first price target at 11.55 before deciding what it wants to do. So that is, in my mind, a potential gap up big time for Monday. I'm not sure if Tesla will continue to spike all the way up to 1200 or so. It is possible, but in my experience, except for the last quarter, Tesla almost always sold the news. So I think that there's a good chance that it could get back to the previous pre-market high last Tuesday at 11.25, give or take, and then tanking a little bit, or it could also get all the way up to 11.55 and start retracing. So let's take all of that together. On the weekly chart, Tesla has a third weekly candle with a failed rocket launch after creating a relatively big gap, about $53 gap here, but it also rejected pretty heavily up top here. There is a gap to be filled on the way down, and to fill that gap, it needs to get back to $1,010. Volume was also not very high on Friday. And Tesla also have the tendency to sell the news the day after delivery news is announced, right? So that would be Monday for the first trading day after the announcement. On the bullish side, however, the daily and the hourly chart is extremely bullish. If you ignore the gap for a moment, and if you ignore the fact that Tesla might sell the news based off of the Q1 delivery news, the daily chart is extremely bullish, right? And the hourly chart also show consolidation ready to take Tesla to the next level. So how do we reconcile a set of bearish news with the set of bullish news, right? And so it's very difficult to predict exactly what Tesla will do. But based on my experience, with the exception of the last quarter, Tesla almost always sold the news. Now, even last quarter, it went up the day of the news, and then it retraced subsequent to that, right? If you take a look at the daily chart for the last quarter, this is where Tesla had the Q4 delivery news, and then immediately the day after and many more days after that, it retraced dramatically. So I do think that Tesla will fill this gap and get back to $1,010 at some point in the next couple of days or the next couple of weeks. Whether it will spike up first for the whole day before retracing, or whether it will spike up for the first few minutes and retracing is a good question, and we can only predict based off of pre-market price action and volume. For me, in order for Tesla to spike again in a healthy and sustainable manner, it needs to fill this gap first. So there are a couple of ways we could look at this, right? The first is that if you do have a call option holding over the weekend, hoping for good delivery result, I would sell it first thing in the morning when Tesla spike up. And then Tesla could potentially retrace back and fill that opening gap, hypothetically, when it has a opening gap. And then it could go all the way down to fill the gap created from the split news here. That said, I don't think it necessarily filled the gap on Monday. It could take a few days for that, but it probably would go back down a little bit before spiking further. If Tesla moves sideways at open, then I think that at some point it would spike and then retrace again. So in my probability analysis, I would say 2 out of 3 scenarios, Tesla would retrace after a big spike. The third scenario where Tesla would spike consistently throughout the day would be when, similar to Q4 delivery result, where it spiked consistently during the trading day. I would say that Q4 delivery result was somewhat of an exception because it was the first full year where Tesla beat the year before by a lot, by roughly 80% in delivery numbers. And it also the first time where other skeptics would concede on the success and the growth of Tesla. Here we are only looking at Q1 of 2022. Keep in mind, as Giga Austin and Giga Berlin ramp up, there will be a healthy chunk of the expense falling into depreciation, and net income for this quarter and the subsequent quarter might not be dramatically higher percentage-wise from the previous quarters, because now depreciation is going to go into full gear, right? And so I'm a little skeptical whether the spike would be sustainable on Monday. I think the spike would probably be there based on pre-market. We should see Tesla moving up with a gap up, but whether or not it's sustainable all day, I'm a little skeptical on that. I also think that Tesla is at the point where it is only going to scale up from here. So as a shareholder, this is a perfect time. If Tesla were to retrace back to where it was a few days ago or the week before, it is an excellent opportunity to buy. A lot of people have been asking me if I'm buying Tesla. I'm buying almost every day when Tesla is red, whether it's 1 share, 2 shares, or 3 shares. And a lot of people also was very surprised at the fact that I buy when Tesla is at the $900 or $1,000 mark, saying that it is too expensive. Well, expensive compared to what? What is the other viable alternative for an EV manufacturer other than Tesla? So if you're looking at Tesla trajectory for the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years, I don't think that it is overvalued, and I definitely don't think it's, quote, too expensive, right? And so in my mind as a shareholder, my sole job is to accumulate these shares and wait for the right time, because Tesla will consistently going up for the next decade or so. So as a shareholder, it is an opportunity to buy. If Tesla goes in the red on Monday, if Tesla fills the gap, all the better, because after Tesla fills the gap, I expect Tesla would go up from there. So as far as trading, there are a couple of strategies you could do. If you are a bullish bias person, like myself, you could probably wait for Tesla to get to an oversold condition before entering into call options. If you are neutral and you can trade both upside and downside, I think the odds favor the downside on Monday after an initial spike. We, of course, have to be careful because it is possible the Tesla will spike up and never look back, just like January 3rd. However, I do think that Tesla has a very good chance to sell the news, and it has been doing that consistently in the past. So because we expect the sell-off to be imminent, I would pick April 8th for put options. And what I would do is to look at my price target would be $1,010 in the short term. So anything between $1,070 down to $1,010 seems to be decent probability for risk versus reward ratio. So if I were to pick, let's say 1060, April 8th, which is same week expiration, we're looking at about 2650. Now, when Tesla spike up, first thing Monday morning, this number is expected to go down dramatically, should be sub 2,000. And depending on the magnitude of the gap up on Monday, the premium is going to adjust accordingly. And if Tesla has, say, a $50 gap up, I would even contemplate something along the line of 1,100 put option. By that time, it shouldn't be 4,600 anymore. So that is something that I will be looking at. Now, if you guys have a call option waiting to capitalize a potential gap up on Monday, I would definitely sell it within the first 20 minutes, if not within the first 5 minutes. And I know that you could probably miss out on a potential spike just like January after Q4 delivery result was announced. When Tesla gets down to about $1,010, I would start looking at possibilities to enter a call option with a little bit longer time frame to give me a little bit of time for Tesla to spike back up. Tesla also announced that it will be announcing Q1 financial earnings on April 20th, which is on a Wednesday, the third Wednesday of April, after the market close. So from Monday, April 4th, to April 20th, we have roughly about 2 weeks and 2 days. Usually this is a period where Tesla either moves sideways or move down. So if Tesla follows my prediction of moving down first within the first few days of this coming week, then I would expect to see Tesla hit oversold at some point, particularly when Tesla hit $1,010, and then it could spike back up in anticipation of good earnings results. Taking another look at the overall market, as you can see, let's take a look at the QQQ for the NASDAQ here. So the QQQ also retraced a little bit last week after having a very good bullish run from the middle of March all the way to March 29. So that's a very good 2 weeks run, and then it start retracing for about 3 days. It filled the gap that it was created from March 28 to March 29th, which was a very tiny gap here. It filled that gap to the back half of last week, and then I think that it will start spiking back up again. Unfortunately, it did not end the week above 200 days SMA, now at around $368, but this candle here is also a reversal candle, which signals a bullish run for the QQQ. The volume was only 72%, so much like Tesla, there wasn't a whole lot of volume on Friday. After all, that was just the first Friday of April. Speaking of the S&P 500, let's take a look at SPY. Once again, SPY also have low volume, only 80% there. Almost similar story, reversing candle right here with 3 days in a row retracing toward the back half of last week, filled a gap that was created from March 28 to March 29. The SPY, however, stay above 200 days SMA, and it is now at 447. And SPY ended the week at 452. So that is also good for the bulls. So with that in mind, we should take a look at some of the typical technology sector. I'm going to start with Google. So for Google, this is a reversing candle also, although this was a failed rocket launch. So on the 29th, everybody gap up with a very bullish hammer. Google had a rejection and then start moving down. On Thursday, Google had a very major retracement, and then seems to be reversing a little bit on Friday. For Google, we have a stock split that is supposed to be coming in July. So I do think that Google will be moving up further in the next few weeks, if not the next few months here. We still have about 3 months and a half before the split materialize. It will take some time for Google to spike, but I think that it will. The high point of Google was $3,030, and that was the day after the split was announced. I think right now at $2,800, Google has about $200 to move up, and it should get there. So the split news was announced when Google was at $27.54 the day before earnings, and with earnings and the split announcement, Google went all the way up at open to $29.60, went all the way up to $30.30 before retracing. This weekly chart pattern here is looks like multiple bottom at around 2,500, and now it's time for it to spike. The weekly candle last week seems to be a bullish continuation. I think that if macroeconomics environment cooperate, Google will spike further. So the weekly chart looks good for Google. It also had 76% of volume only, so that wasn't super material on Friday. For Amazon, let's start with the weekly candle for Amazon here. So for Amazon, interestingly, it had a rejection off of 200 days SMA. So that's not ideal on the weekly candle. This looked like a topping candle with a failed rocket launch waiting to move back down. So even though Amazon also had a split announcement, 20-1 split announcement, and it was supposed to take effect in early June, unlike Google, Google would be in July. Amazon is supposed to be splitting soon, but the stock price action is a little skeptical. That said, it did have a double bottom, actually multiple bottom, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times that it hit 2800 area, which is the lower end of my bull flag. And I'm hoping that it will spiking up back to all-time high of 37.72, and then the first price target of my weekly bull flag of 39.50. It is just a matter of time, although with this bearish weekly candle, I'm not sure if next week it will be necessarily super bullish, but I do think that within the next 6 to 12 months, Amazon will get back to all-time high, potentially surpassing that to get to 39.50. If you want to take a look at, let's say, Shopify volume on Friday was pretty decent compared to other stock, and it was 92%. So let's take a look at the weekly chart first for Shopify here. So this is a also a rejection weekly candle. However, it wasn't placed on top of a bullish candle. So for all intents and purposes, these two weekly candles just bullish continuation, consolidation after a very bullish week. And if you recall, about 2 weeks ago, Shopify jumped like crazy up to $780 about a minute or two before the close of Friday. So that was very unusual for Shopify. It makes sense that it will consolidate a little bit, but I think that very, very soon here, Shopify will go back up and fly, and it will get to the 800 and 900 pretty soon here. It's just a matter of time. It might go through another weekly consolidation before spiking, or it might spike next week if the QQQ cooperates. We don't know, but these two candles, despite the fact that they have a long rejection up top, based on the positions that they are in, I do think that they could potentially mean consolidation. Let's take a look at also NVIDIA. So NVIDIA weekly volume for NVIDIA was 96% on Friday, so it wasn't too bad. And on the weekly, actually, let's go to the daily for NVIDIA. So for NVIDIA here, the price also reflect multiple bottoms, a bull flag, and we are still in a little bit of retracement consolidation zone. NVIDIA is above both 50 days SMA at 246 and 200 days SMA at 242. So these two numbers are not too far off from each other. And I think that NVIDIA will eventually spike back up if macro cooperates. Right now, it does look like it too has a bull flag. And the first price target could easily be around $312 and then $345, give or take. So those are some typical technology sector stock that I think that is important for us to look at in context, right? So both Tesla and these technology stock have really good bullish chart pattern. However, how they're going to pan out in the week depends on various factors. And I think Tesla could probably sell off first before it make any move. So this is it for this video. Thank you very much for paying attention thus far. I look forward to seeing you on my Patreon page and come back for the next video. And for those of you who are going to be in Austin next week, I hope to see you guys there. I'm not yet invited to Tesla event in Giga Austin, but I believe that there is an event put together by Tesla owners of Austin that will happen on April 8th, where a lot of speakers that are very well known are going to get together, and our YouTube community is going to get together as well. And I am already registered to go to that event. I hope to see some of you guys there. And until the next video, bye.